This is the Refuge Project.
This is the Refuge Project. The Refuge Project is the place that I show up every other week.
It's a place that sometimes
I come in and sometimes I don't.
I don't even think we could say meaningful place anymore. I mean, it's just kind of like it's just a place.
Man.
It's a place you can talk. You hear a voice.
That was pretty good. That was funny. I like that.
How you guys doing, man?
Oh, I'm amazing.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm very sad because my candidate didn't win the election. You know, I'm pretty disappointed, dude. I mean, America's downhill from here, right? I mean, there's no more democracy.
I missed that last week.
No more democracy,
you flipped
bro.
on me?
There's no more joy.
You were so all week you was making these like TikToks. I can't believe it,
dude.
I'm leaving this country.
I've been calling the suicide hotlines, dude.
They put you on hold. Please hold.
I'm barely hanging in there, man. I texted. I told Tara like the day after the election. I said we should, because her dad's like all in hard conservative, like hardcore. You know, you can't. It's so hardcore, like you can't bring it up anything political around him because he'll just start rattling off Fox headlines. You know, and you can't stop it without, like, you know, it's like a whole thing. So it's kind of funny. But I said, hey, you should text like your family group text something like, you know, something like, hey, y'all stay safe out there. Just like one of those like everybody's been putting up. And she's like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I could do it. I don't know if my dad could handle it. It'd be funny, but I don't know. And I said, I'm going to text my parents. I'll read you what I texted. So I said, I'll text my family. Because, so I texted my parents. It wasn't as fun as I thought it was going to be. My sister kind of ruined it on accident, but, you know, whatever. I told her.
Thanks, Rayanne.
Yeah, I know. Well, I texted all of my family. I said, sad day for America. Democracy is at stake. Can't believe these Nazis elected this fascist for president instead of voting for Joy. Stay safe out there. And so I was waiting for my mom or my dad to respond, because those were the ones I wanted to see what they'd say. But Rayanne like immediately responds, I'm assuming this is sarcasm, and I'm just like, well, it's not fun if you already called it out. We didn't even get to let it play out first. Anyway, though, it was a good time. We had fun.
Yeah, I do like all those social media posts where everybody just like freaking out. They're
It's
like,
wild. It's yeah.
And they're like, I'm waking up tomorrow and I don't even know if I'm gonna have women's rights anymore. And
yeah, dude. Yeah, dude.
Like,
Dude, I'm so. I'll keep talking. I'm trying to find this video.
It's like elections don't work that way. Like right after the election is done, it's like there's still a rule of law that has to be followed, and you know there's a constitution and amendments, and all that stuff. There is, it's not just gonna magically go away. Ridiculous.
It was a good time.
And then I'm also liking all the political commentators that like the Ben Shapiro's and all those guys.
Oh, yeah.
I listen to them quite regularly, but they're so smug now that the candidate won.
It's a bit much.
Because if you remember 4 years ago, they were all like the red wave, the red wave, the red wave, and then there was like, well, it was more like a red trickle.
Yeah.
Right. But this year was definitely a red tsunami.
Yeah.
Have you seen the final polling numbers? It's like over 300.
Yeah.
That Trump won.
317 to like 213 or something like that. It was crazy.
Yeah. I saw a map of, because they'll put up the map of the U.S. with like all the states that voted red and blue or whatever. And I saw one of the whichever year Reagan ran on, and so he was a Republican when he ran, right? It was every state. He won every state except for Minnesota. He won 49 states.
What's wrong with Minnesota?
Which is crazy that somebody dominated that much.
Yeah.
And I saw another thing that said, I don't know if this is true, but they said that when Biden was still running, he had like some internal polling or whatever showing that Trump was going to win 400 electoral votes if he kept going.
That's funny.
Which is hilarious.
This was on Fox News, so take it for what you want. And I'm either way on this, but I thought this was just funny, man. This is the This is the left freaking out at the end of the election right here.
Oh, look out. Here we go.
What they have done in their online media ecosystem is build a radicalization engine, literally the way militant groups do around the world, that takes
They're talking
people
about the right.
from relatively low-level annoyances with the world. Why are eggs so expensive? Why is my kid learning this new thing in American history in school that I didn't learn? And then moves them through YouTube videos, through podcasts, moves them from that annoyance all the way, slowly, to a full-blown fascist politics. It's an elaborate, multi-billion-dollar infrastructure, and there is nothing like it on the pro-democracy side. We don't
Nothing
have
like
an
it.
When a man
Except
is just lost and
CNN.
lonely and not yet radicalized, we don't have the equivalent of Joe Rogan and
Right.
Jordan Peterson to move that man in a feminist direction. By the way, we should educate men that it's actually really great to live with a strong woman who makes money. It's actually easier. Life is easier.
It makes
The
life
fascist
easier.
ecosystem needs
Okay.
an alternative where
Hang
we
on.
can feminize.
Listen to what this young girl says about this.
That is one
ahead.
of the most hilarious sound bites I've ever seen, because the only reason why right wingers have a lot of power on in the podcast sphere and alternative media is because the legacy media, people at CNN and MSNBC, have been excluding right wing voices for years now. MSNBC and CNN, they want to know why you guys don't have a Joe Rogan. Because you did have a Joe Rogan. His name was
Right.
Joe Rogan. He was pro-universal healthcare, pro-trans rights. He was a Bernie bro. And they have excluded anybody who doesn't fit in their specific political box for so long.
It is so true. That's such a good point because Rogan was on their side.
So was Elon.
Yeah. And they went so far left. These leftists are going, no, can't go that far left. Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah, Tulsi Gabbard, she
There's
completely
nothing like it.
She flipped parties, right? You have somebody like RFK, who is not a Democrat.
Yeah.
I mean, not a Republican.
Republican.
And Democrats don't like him, but he's not Republican. You know, it's
Did
just
you hear what Trump said about him? Because you know Trump hired him, right?
Mm-hmm.
He goes, just stay away from the oil.
just
The
don't touch the
oil's
oil."
mine. Don't touch the oil. The black gold.
Oh, yeah. Then he said, yeah, but everything else, go have fun.
Yeah, go
Knock
get him.
yourself out.
Yeah, but he's also, all those appointments are taking place, I guess, up until the time of his inauguration in January. But the people that he's appointing, really good picks so far.
Yeah.
These are people that are they have a track record of doing what's right and putting America first.
There was a Air Force pilot, just the Air Force pilot. He was fired by questioning some of the transsexual type stuff in the military.
In the rally?
I don't. I just seen the clip of it, and so he was up there talking about it, and he says, Mr. President, I think you should put a task force together or whatever to go check this out and see why they're just firing, legitimate military people. And Trump says, I got a great idea. Why don't you be a part of that task? And the guy was like, okay. So he gave him a job to do that too. So, they're going to have to sprint for 4 years because they only have 4 years. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's not like they have an opportunity for 4 more, like a lot of
I don't know,
presidents coming
though.
in.
I think they might have a lot more because, obviously Trump won't be there, but Vance is his VP.
A lot of people liked Vance.
I had never heard his name before because I don't really follow politics. I had never heard his name before until they announced him as the VP.
Same here.
And then I seen him on a few podcasts and stuff like a lot of people did, and I didn't really disagree with pretty much anything.
The
he
dude is
said.
getting old already, though. He showed up with gray hair out of nowhere in his beard. I was just like, oh.
Well, how old is he?
He's like 40,
Are you sure?
like 38 or 40 or
He's a
something
young-
like that.
he's a
Vance
Yeah.
is 38.
I don't think he's in his 30s. He's probably in
There's
his
no
40s.
way. Let's give it a
But-
goog. Here we go. Just
42
check it out.
maybe? No.
Anyway, but the point is, though, I think if he decided to run for president, I think he'd have a good chance,
Yeah.
depending on how things go.
And
the next 4
but the
years.
blue side also has some work to do there
40.
as well.
He's
Because
40.
You got me beat.
nice.
I got a new phone. I'm getting used to it still.
This huge phone he has is
This is
way
it.
bigger than his other one.
My other one was that SE or whatever, which is and
It's
so
an
now I
upgrade
got
from the flip phone.
That was from like 19,
okay, they didn't have them in the
2019. I'm sorry, 2019.
Yeah. So this is, I think it's an 11. It's still like an older phone, but It's new to me.
New to you.
Refurbished. eBay, baby.
Yeah, but the other, the other side has some work to do in that they need to get a candidate that resonates with the messaging of the base of the party. But that's just it, right? They've gone so off the rails that they don't even know what their message is
Yeah, they don't have
because
a
it doesn't resonate with as we've seen, most of America now.
Well,
So-
people are just tired of being lied to and being called names, so you can't vote for that.
Yeah.
The people that keep lying to you and calling
I
you
mean,
names,
like
what
Trump
are you
is the
gonna-
biggest name caller there is.
Yeah, but he'll talk trash. Like he's more like talking trash. The other people are like, you're a racist and a fascist if you don't agree with me.
Tulsi
Like,
is the
I have
big
been
one.
called racist so many times by them just for existing. Like, there's no way I could ever vote for that party. You know what I mean? Like, stop belittling me constantly
Yeah.
if I don't agree with you. And then they're just promoting lies all the time. So it's like, that's most of America being like, I don't want to, like, I can't trust you, and you keep calling me names.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, if they could get behind Tulsi, they could.
but they did the same thing to her. They just started calling her names and spreading lies about her. So
they
she
moved
left.
her out, right?
So that's what they've
But that's
done
who
to everybody.
they're going to need somebody like that to win next year or the next term. So
Yeah,
like a
nobody.
Vance Tulsi Gabbard ticket.
yeah, no, I'm talking about the left. They're going to need somebody,
like
that could meet some of these middle voters and
they
pull
don't-
them back.
They
you
don't
know?
have anybody like
Maybe Nancy Pelosi.
But no, I actually told Sandra about
Pelosi
Vance
parade,
and
baby.
Tulsi. That would be a powerful.
Well, that's what I'm saying. As far as you said, they only got 4 years. I think they got a lot because the left doesn't really have any candidates, and the right, like with the team that Trump's been putting together, like all of those people are people that most of the public likes.
Yeah.
So if this presidency goes good and Vance doesn't do anything horrible and he just keeps going out there being reasonable,
Yeah.
and he decides to run, he could probably win.
And,
pretty
and there's another side to all this as well because they still have to make sure that they secure the Senate, right? Which I think they did, but even so,
I
there's
think the House is the only thing that's up right now, right?
But
or
there-
no, the House, and they was trying to get the Senate.
But there's a couple Republicans in the Senate that they're not going to agree with Trump.
What are they called? Those Republican that vote Democrat.
I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Sandra has a crazy word for them. Yeah. Anyways,
I don't know.
Benedict Arnold.
I was really waiting to hear the word, but
it's like an Uncle Tom, but like political, like a political Uncle Tom type deal.
I don't know the word.
Yeah.
All right. So hey, last week we were talking about just songs that have affected us in different kind of ways. Because Pastor David was asking, "What'd y'all talk about?"
Sorry, I don't listen to our podcast.
So he said
He don't listen.
So he
don't
started.
show up.
He started reminiscing a little bit about the past. He said, "Oh, you know what?
man.
One song that just what was it? 1986 was when it came out."
1986, my first girlfriend, my first ever kiss. Well, no, it wasn't my first ever kiss, but like first like kissing of a girl, not just like my roller skates pecking on the cheek.
Was she a Latina?
No, she was more, I guess, Italian looking. So she was
Spanish.
She was on the darker end of the whites.
And every Italian person's like, "What?"
She's like a Polish girl got left out in the sun a little too long.
Play my song. This is by Tiffany.
Latina
I
adjacent.
think I'm alone now.
Children behave. That's what they say when we're together. And watch how you play. They don't understand, and so we're running just as fast as we can, holding on to one another's hand, trying to get away into the night. And then you put your arms around me, and we tumble to the ground. And then you say, "I think we're alone now. It doesn't seem to be anyone around. I think we're alone now. The beating of our hearts is the only sound." Look at the way
Misty, if you're out there anywhere,
Wait, so you're saying this song, what this song was like playing, you put this song on, was like, hey girl. Oh,
Leave
that's
her alone, girl.
That was the sound. That was the soundtrack to his love.
Oh, that's
That was-
so
yeah.
funny. I love it.
8th grade, Misty Robertson.
8th grade. Now you'd be considered a late bloomer.
Yeah, right. If you're already having sex now at 8th grade.
You should have, never mind, I was about to take it too far. I'm back.
Yeah, I remember.
I'm back.
I remember being in middle school, 7th grade. I guess that's the first time that I encountered another one of the students like being pregnant and having a baby. I'd never
yes.
seen that
Wild.
before.
Yeah. They shipped them off if you were that kid in our school.
We
They
had
sent
this
you to another school.
We had this this girl,
which is interesting.
and in 5th grade, she was basically a grown woman.
Jeez Louise.
If you know what I mean, everywhere. And when she was in 7th grade, she got pregnant.
Yeah,
Everybody was running after her.
I guess so.
Yeah.
They ship her off, or does she stay in?
I think they put you in a different school and all that back
Yeah,
then.
they just take you out and they say you're over here now.
What do you think about that?
It's kind of weird,
Well,
but
people
it,
being shipped out.
Yeah, I mean,
it kind of makes sense, but it's also
it's like
crazy.
let's not promote this in school. You know what I mean?
well, they ship them out to another school and then they give them like a different curriculum, basically.
they
And they're-
fast track them, right?
Yeah, and then but then my thought was
How do you
like,
fast track a 6th grader?
it's got to be really fast.
Well, apparently they are fast.
Yeah, dude, they're already on the fast track. but then they give you they look. So the school in Deer Park, because I went to Deer Park, there was a separate school they called Walters.
Oh, Walters.
And so Walters is if you got pregnant, you'd go there. If you got in some kind of like major trouble where you got suspended or something, sometimes they would send you to Walters. Like you couldn't go to regular school anymore. You had to go over there. Like if you got a criminal charge or something. And then also some people would just choose to go to Walters because they'd be like, I just want to graduate high school early.
You know those schools are not based on the students.
No.
Those schools are all only there to keep the graduation rate up.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, this is a at-risk student, so let's not let him flunk out of school. Let's fast track them and get him graduated so it doesn't go against
But
our
what they would
numbers.
do there is they would just give you the packet. They'd be like, this is the stuff for this course for this semester. Just do it, and when you're done, you're done. And so that was how you could go faster because you didn't have to like
wait on the rest of the kids.
Yeah, so you would just like read the stuff. You'd have the book there, and just you'd go fill it out. And then if you had a question, you go to the teacher like, "Hey, I'm having trouble with this," and they tell you, and you would just go do it all. And so people would graduate high school in like a year or so if they really wanted to.
Yeah.
And my whole thing was like, why are we not all doing this? Like, if you can get it done in 1 year, why am I sitting here for
Are
4 years?
Are you an advocate for that?
I mean, kind of, but kind of no.
You
I
know,
don't- I just think the regular system's so ridiculous that it's.
Adam and Victoria went to Canyon University in Arizona. It's a Christian university. And their semesters are like every 6 weeks.
Yeah.
They start a new semester. And it'll never stop. But it's not like summer. It's just like
Yeah.
every 6 weeks you go, and that seems like the way to go instead of drawing this stuff out for 9 weeks or whatever it is, and
Well, the thing is, it's not going to work for everybody.
12 weeks.
You know, there's going to be people that like
Need
they
extra
need
time.
Yeah. So that's kind of, but
That's like taking a summer mini every semester.
yeah.
You know what I
But
mean?
for some people, that's cool.
Yeah.
You know, they do that and they can get done way faster. I thought about trying to go to that school. At
Adam
some
loved
point.
it. Of course, he's super intelligent too, so that helps.
Yeah, I almost did the whole Walters thing just so I could graduate early because I just hated school so much. But then I was like, at that time, I was like, well, I don't even know what I want to do when I graduate high school.
What do I do after this?
Do I go to college? Maybe, but I don't know what I want to go. So I was like, I'll just hang out. So I just kept going to regular school.
See, whenever I was a teenager, I always thought that, like just what you said, I can get done with high school quick. Why not just do that? Why not do that? My parents did not let me homeschool. They didn't let me go to anything else. And of course I was upset about that. But hindsight now, being an adult and being a youth pastor for these years now, what you learn in high school, other than all the bad stuff, right, is that's where you learn your social skills.
Yeah.
really dealing.
But I think you
with,
can learn those other places too.
there's a lot. I don't know, man. Look, there was some kids that we had
Yeah.
that were weird in in high school.
Yeah.
And it's like by the end of high school, they kind of got out of their weirdness a little bit, more socially adaptable, I guess. But then we've also had those other ones that are kind of homeschool type thing.
Well, I had the ones. I also had the weird ones in high school that like got used to the high school world, and they were freaky kids in high school, and they just never grew out of that either. So they never learned whatever.
but I
the
think it's more than just like social, like having a meaningful conversation with each other, or how to deal with somebody else's crap. But like even like relationships, right? How do you deal with a romantic relationship? You learn that stuff early on in high school. Say you're a 14-year-old graduate of high school and you go straight to college. That whole piece is missing, because what are you going to do? Date somebody in college? You know what I mean? So now you have this weird understanding of what relationship is because you never done it, and
then you go to college, and then you're automatically thrown into an adult relationship.
Or adult relationship, adult thinking relationships, talking about government and type things for a 14-year-old.
Y'all are giving too much credit to college kids. They ain't sitting around talking about the government.
No, I'm talking about like in government class when you have, of course, now it's probably different than then, but like these crazy government teachers that Luke tells me about, and how she canceled 2 classes in a row after.
Well, I think colleges do too.
After
the way
Trump
it's set
won
up
because
now,
she couldn't take it, So
I think both of those systems are messed up. So
Oh yeah, big time, and they're super liberal.
I mean, I didn't date a girl till college, so it was, and I have a great relationship. So it's not like,
But you've seen it, you've learned it,
I didn't learn it in high school.
not learned it, but you was experienced around it. That's
I mean, I was around people, yes.
But wasn't
Yeah,
that
that
one
means
girl
a
that was
lot.
around you trying to date you before you got with your now wife?
I had a lot of girls try to date me.
But wasn't she?
Yeah, which one are you talking about?
Wasn't she
Hey,
crazy?
Blair.
The one that called you Jimmy or something like that?
I have a bunch of people call me Jimmy.
Wasn't she? It was the crazy Mormon girl, wasn't it her?
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
he's not trying to answer your question.
I know who you're talking about now. I know who you're talking about. I didn't at first, but I do now after more.
That was so awkward for a minute. Yeah, I'm Jimmy. Yeah, a bunch of people call me that.
I do have a lot of people.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Although I don't really see any of those people anymore.
But I preached at a young adult retreat this last weekend, Friday and Saturday, and it was real crazy. I got a chance to stay there a little later on Friday night as they broke into small groups, and then I'm like, I ain't gonna try to be anybody's dad here because I'm not that old. I'm not that old. I can be like a big brother type thing, right?
At least be an uncle.
But then Pastor David's son Luke was there, and he's 18. Yeah, and I'm like, bro.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm almost 20 years older. I could be your dad.
That's right. That's right. Especially if you start in 7th grade, like some of these kids.
Yo, I know.
Luke was just like so relieved, man. He was just like, so this is what youth camp is with mature people.
Yeah.
Because Luke's always been a little bit mature. And he was just like, this is so refreshing that, you could just have conversation and not all the crazy stuff going on. Yeah. So he was really cool to hear him say that.
Yeah. No, it was good. It was a good weekend.
Where did they go? I don't remember.
They rented 2 Airbnbs in Galveston. One for the guys, one for the girls. They were big houses.
I guess so.
Were they close to each other?
Probably about a minute and a half away, I think.
That's pretty cool.
In a vehicle.
Like on the beach or just...
It was beach adjacent. Yeah.
Adjacent.
But they had all the services in the where the girls were staying because they had a huge game room down there. It was ridiculous. But they really elevated
What
it.
beach?
I don't know. It's not too far away from.
You hit the seawall, you go right?
Yes.
Yeah, just down that way.
Yeah.
I got you.
Like Jamaica Beach, probably.
I think it was not too far away from Moody Gardens.
Okay.
Yeah.
My dad rented a Airbnb on the beach down there a couple years back for my mom's 60th birthday, I think. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it was, and they had like her siblings come in and their kids and stuff. And yeah, it was like it was at least 5 bedrooms, but they were big, massive. Like it was a massive beach house. So
Yeah,
they make a lot of those down there. And then
Probably
just rent them
30,
out.
30 plus something. Young adults, people
Yeah.
18 and up. It was real good.
Yeah.
How many friends do you have still from high school? That you like actively or having friendships with?
I have one friend that I talk to one time a year.
And that's the closest one you have from high school?
From high school, yeah.
I have one from kindergarten that we still get together every couple months or so.
That's not really high school, though. That's different.
Yeah, well, that's one.
But did you know him in high school?
Yeah, I knew
Oh,
him.
not just kindergarten.
Kindergarten, that was it. He's probably my oldest friend.
And how often do you talk to him? Once a month?
We'll get together at least like every month or two.
Okay.
At some point, because he's my
dinner or
friend that
something?
does the police work. So he'll be like working nights, or he just
Right.
works a bunch of crazy hours. So it's kind of just at some point when he's free, one of us will hit. He usually hits me up. But anyway, I have him. I have, let's see, I got a handful of them, but the older we get, like the longer amount of time in between us seeing
Yeah.
each other. So there's a few. I guess Adam too,
Yeah.
because I knew him in like junior high, I guess. So and I still see Adam every now and then. Yeah, I probably got like 5 or 6 that I like actively see.
That's a lot.
That's very rare.
And when I say active, though, it's not as active as, it's like every few months or so, something like that.
Yeah.
Or I'll at least
I don't have
text them or something. But
I don't have any at all.
yeah, well, you're high school,
It was a long time ago.
Most of them aren't even alive anymore.
Probably not. They're probably murdered.
Yeah, they're come on.
My best friend, I see my best friend growing up, but it's kind of an odd situation since he's married to my ex-wife.
Dude, did I tell y'all about
Was their wedding song Tiffany?
Probably. They're like, screw this dude.
Dude, this might be too much info, but whatever. My dad's best friend growing up, they were like super, super close. And at some point, somehow, he ended up dating a girl that my dad was dating at some point, and then they weren't friends anymore. And it was like a whole thing, apparently. And but that guy and that girl got married and like have kids and everything now. And when I was working at Gringos, they used to come in every now and then, and I would.
You know
some-
what you're talking about, right?
I don't even know their names. It doesn't even matter. But
You don't know?
it doesn't matter. It's not important. It's not important for the story. But the point is, they would come in and they would be like, at some point, they were like, "Oh, hey, who are you? What's your last name? Oh, you're hip. Yeah, I'm so and so. I used to be friends with your dad." Da, da, da. And I would be like, "Oh, okay, cool," and that would be it, right? And but then every time they would come in, they would look at me and talk to me like, "Oh, hey,
Like your family.
like we have something going on," and I'm like, "Hey, dude, you're nothing. Like we're not a, you know what I mean? Like
you're nothing.
you're not a thing. We're not a relationship." Oh, he showed David's eyes getting all big. What are you doing?
Well, David knows them.
yeah, I know.
But yet they'd always come in and be like, "Oh, hey," and I'm like, "Hey, you don't have to do this. We don't know each other. We're
good
not
picture.
like buds. We're never gonna go hang out. Like this is fine. You don't have to make this a thing every time we come in."
Yeah.
And that we used to be, yeah, it was always the worst. Just because they would be nice, it wasn't a problem. Just, "Oh, hey, we don't know each other, dude. And that's okay. We don't need to know each
It's
other."
weird. It's like, you could have been my wife's kid.
It was just like, it didn't make any sense. It's like, what are you doing? And the
Yeah,
girl and like her daughter would be like, "Oh, hey." I'm like, "What are you doing, people?"
This stuff like really fires them up, man.
Dude, things that I think are like so incredibly socially unacceptable that I think are so obvious.
Like casseroles?
Those are okay. But I'm like, why do you not know that this isn't acceptable to act like this to me?
Chili's is not acceptable.
Chili's, why are we... Well, Chili's is not that great, but their prices are so cheap that you can justify it. It's kind of like when you go get
Not like
something...
Luby's.
They got like the 3...
Chili's.
Chili's has the like 3 for $10, where you get like an appetizer, an entree, and a drink for $10, and you're like, okay.
Yeah, but it's never the good appetizers.
Some of it's you can get like the chips and stuff. They're all right. They're
Yeah,
pretty
but like
decent.
Luby's, you paid $37 for like
That's what I'm saying.
lukewarm chicken.
And it's
No,
trash.
that is not
and it's trash,
37.
and you got to go get it yourself and everything.
First of all, kids eat free on Wednesdays.
Nobody's going on a Wednesday.
That's when we go.
You go kids eat free. We got to go today.
Yeah, I gotta get
Yeah,
free
yeah.
meal.
You're
I'm
like
still making Luke like squat down so he can get his free meal.
You're like the parents on Seinfeld that go eat dinner at 4:30 because you got to get the early bird special.
Well, at Luby's, if you go too late, then they don't make any more food. Yeah. So you have to get
Lukewarm.
That's what I'm
chicken.
saying, dude. And you're gonna spend like $30 for it. It's crazy.
That's not $30.
Crazy. So yesterday we took some
Y'all
food
be
to
hating. Y'all are haters.
I am a
at the
hater.
church. We have this thing for the
hate-
longest time. It was called the Casserole Ministry. You know they rebranded.
That's what I heard.
Yeah, it's called like oh my goodness, I don't know what it's called. It's a play on.
Shout out to Rayanne.
Lowe's. Yeah, Rayanne.
It's called the Casserole Ministry.
No, it's been called the Casserole Ministry for like 80 years, but it's called like. It's a play on loaves and fishes or something like that. It's like
Loaves of
meals
love.
and dishes or something.
Loaves of
Whatever it's called.
loves, Fishes,
So,
fishes and dishes.
I think it's fishes and meals and dishes and meals. I don't know, but whatever.
meals
Rayanne
with-
right now is going, it's
Meals with a meaning.
But we
Fish.
took some food
Phenomenal
to a new couple, a couple that's newer to the church. They're in their early 20s, and they just had their second kid. And I guess prior, because we've benefited before. Did y'all ever do Casserole Ministry?
Oh, yeah.
yeah. It's awesome. All week, you choose the week you want, and then every day of that week, somebody brings you food for your family, so you don't have to cook to newborn mothers. It's amazing. But anyway,
But you got to be a member.
yeah, you
So
got to
make
be.
sure you get membered before you
Oh, I
get
get
a-
it. So if you're a member, you cook for other people, and then when it's your
But you can't get it unless you're a member.
yeah, I get it. I get
So
it.
they tried to, I think they tried to digitize some of these things, and anyway, but now people can put exactly what they want, where from, and what,
Yeah, yeah.
like,
and
because
then I can actually be a part of it now, right? Because I live 40 miles away, but I could go on there and hit DoorDash and
Yeah,
like
Uber
send
Eats
them,
or something.
Uber Eats and like send them something. So that
I
part of
get
it's
it.
pretty cool.
yeah. So anyway, they wanted Taco Bell, so you know that they're in their 20s,
Yeah.
right? But
Dude, this is the time that you can get what you want.
That's
yeah,
right, dude.
And
yeah.
Taco Bell.
That's right.
You know, and they had a very specific order and everything. But by the end of the thing, it was like, you remember when Taco Bell was like the budget option?
Still is for me.
It ain't no budget
That ain't
option.
no
It is if you
budget
order right. You got to
The
know what you're doing.
tacos
dude.
are like $1.60 or something now.
Actually, they're more than that. They're like $2 something. You don't get a single taco, dude. You go get the Values Cravings box, only available online on the app, and then you customize it. And then if it's not quite enough for you, you go to the Value Cravings menu and you order something for $2. You get out of there for like $7, and you got more food than you could eat. That's how you do it.
Well, this was not that. So, and
I know how to do Taco Bell.
and it's fine. You know,
Luby's is cheaper than Taco Bell.
No,
well, you know,
I don't know about that.
I'm telling you, Taco Bell had some Luby's pricing on it, and it was pretty crazy.
Yeah, you're not doing it right. You're ordering it wrong.
I don't have the Taco Bell app.
You get the app, dude.
I
Oh
don't
yeah,
know Taco Bell.
every like 2 or 3 times you
I'm
go.
too old for
you
Taco
get
Bell.
No, well,
Yeah, it makes it.
you get the app, you get the points like everybody, you know. Dude, let me tell you, here's a problem I have at Taco Bell. I go the other day, I order on the app. So you place your order, you pull up to the drive-thru. They say, "Hey, welcome to Taco Bell," and you say, "I'm picking up an order for James." They say, "Cool, pull forward." That's it. That's how it's been going. The last 2 times I've gone now,
Oh, you got to do.
I don't know what to do. I order on the app. I pull up to the speaker and they say, "Hi, welcome to Taco Bell. Will you be using your Taco Bell mobile app?" And I don't know what to say because I already did. So I say, yeah, I'm picking up an order for James." And then they freak out and it goes silence. And they're like, "Ah."
Because there was no James on the screen.
They don't know what I go, "I don't know how to answer your question. I ordered on the app." It's like a whole thing. So the last time I go, "Hey, welcome to Taco Bell. Will you be ordering your app?" I said, "I'm picking up an order for James." And they go, and there's nothing for like 10 seconds. I say, "Hello?" And then a different voice comes on this thing, says, yeah, you can pull forward. And I say, "Okay, thanks." I pull forward. I get to the window. The guy goes, I've already paid for it on the app, everything, right? I get to the window. The guy goes, "All right, it's going to be $16 even." And I said, "No, it's not. Getting the order for James." And he goes, "Oh, my bad." And he looks and he goes, "Okay, yeah, it'll be right out." I said, "Okay, thanks." So this is 2 interactions.
Two different people.
They're 0 for 2 so far in like a normal, pleasant interaction, right? The guy comes back. He hands me a box. He says, all right, here you go. And I open it up because I'm like, this isn't enough food because I know what I ordered. So I pulled it up. I said, yeah, this isn't right. I see the receipts like on the box. That's my receipt, correct order. I say, yeah, I'm missing this. I'm missing that. I don't have the fire sauce. And I hand it back to him. He goes, okay, just a sec. So then we wait a second. Now a different guy comes out. Another minute later, he goes, here you go, sir. Sorry about that. And he hands me the stuff, and I look at back, and he goes, oh, the fire sauce. And then he grabs the fire sauce. I say, all right, thanks. Have a great night. So I think I had 4 interactions. All of them were not good. And I finally got home with it, and it was fine. And they still had like an extra item that I didn't order in the bag, which was, I'd rather have too much than not enough.
But you know,
I
it's
was like,
crazy that we're getting food from entry-level jobs.
yeah. Well, that's also my other thing with these kind of places. Like, I go to Wingstop once a week because it's wing night, and they got the cheap 20-piece for $16.99 with a fry, you know. So we do that once a week, right? And sometimes I'll go to these places, and they'll mess up the order or whatever. And you go, yeah, man, what do you expect? This is a bunch of, like, 18-year-olds running this thing. They're not going to get it right all the time. The food, the price is too cheap for what you're getting. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, this is what you're doing. Yeah. It's not going to work every time.
You can't expect it to be real food.
Because sometimes people do that and they'll be like, can you believe it, stupid Wingstop didn't give me my fries? And they go on this whole thing. I'm like, that's when you decide to go to Wingstop, you are accepting a certain amount of risk with your order. Don't be surprised when sometimes it messes you up because they didn't cook the chicken all the way, or sometimes they forgot the celery sticks.
And
it's going to happen a certain
some
percentage
people
of the
are
time.
always getting bad orders.
Oh, yeah.
You notice that? It's like one person, every time they go, they always get bad. Oh, this. Like,
Yeah.
Every time you go, it don't matter where you go. Maybe it's you
And they're
not
furious about it, which is, hey, that's if they're getting it wrong every time, go somewhere else. But to me, it's like if they get it wrong 10% of the time,
But I feel like
that's okay.
I feel like it's people that work fast food too that are always real super picky. Like when I was there, I've always got
either that or they're like extra forgiving because they deal with those people.
Yeah.
But if you go to like where my perspective changes is if you go to a nice place, you go to a nice restaurant, you spend $25-$30 on a plate of food, you know, and then they're getting stuff wrong and all. That's different. It's like, hey, I'm paying the premium for this stuff. Let's do it right.
Yeah.
But if you go, I'm going to get 3 items off the value menu at this fast food place, and it didn't come out 100% to your liking every time. I mean, I don't know what to tell you, dude.
I don't know if I've ever been to like Ruth's Chris or a place like that I didn't get the service that I paid for.
Yeah.
You know, because those guys are like professionals.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Occasionally, I'll go to a nice place. I mean, I don't go to nice places that often because I can't afford it. But when I do decide, hey, we're going to go spend too much money on dinner and we're going to have a nice night, like if I do that and I take all the effort, we put on pants, not shorts. I drive downtown. You know what I mean? I had to deal with parking on the street, parallel parking, find a spot. We're walking 3 blocks to the restaurant because there's not a space. I do all that and the bill comes as $80 and you don't send out the right plate. Like, that's a problem.
Yeah. But you don't get that because you're actually paying a professional.
And usually
Most
that
of them.
doesn't happen,
Yeah.
And if it does, they're immediately, oh, I'm so sorry, let me fix this. And it's, you know. So if you ever have that experience and it's not, the service isn't there, that is when I
You know what I can't still, and I've been to plenty of restaurants like this, but like when they come and they sweep your table while you're eating, they're like,
You don't like that?
it's just weird to me.
No, it's good, dude.
I mean,
They're keeping it clean.
they're keeping it clean, but I'm just not used to it. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
just somebody come sweep up after me while
Dude.
I'm still eating.
Culture. That's a cultural thing, right? Because that's our expectation here in America. But the first time
Because you're used to eating at Luby's. Dude. You need to raise your experience expectations.
my first job out of college, I was selling ramen noodles, right? But from like a corporate setting, right? Selling truckloads, not like a door-to-door bowl sales.
Do you have
You want to
15
buy
cents?
2 or 4?
Much noodles. Though I think I could probably move some noodles like that. People love ramen noodles. Anyway, so
Was just laying out of his trunk.
so these noodles were not like the Maruchans that are made in San Antonio, but these are the ones that They're made in Rancho Cucamonga, California. That's a
right.
real place.
That's right.
Yeah. But anyway, they
Best noodles in the world.
they're South Korean because it's an
yeah.
international company.
Listen, he's
Oh, yeah,
hey,
dude.
he's selling us.
Sell me on
He's
it right
selling us
now.
on it right
Look,
now.
I
These
have-
ain't the ones from San Antonio.
Tell me about
I
it.
haven't worked for that company in years, right? Over a decade now. And I still buy
get
that
their
product.
noodle, that's right, yeah.
I still buy the product.
like it. I like
It
it.
is
Who sells
good.
it?
It's called Nongshim.
Who sells it though?
Everybody.
Okay.
Everybody. HEB, Kroger.
So what's the one that has the what you call it the stop you once you start
What? What's the flavor? Has the what?
I can't even remember now. Keep going. Once you start, man, I just
You start mumbling, duh, 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 and you never know what you're going to say.
What's the flavor to get?
Spicy shrimp one?
He's in a loop, ladies and gentlemen. He's in a loop.
You never know if the next thing to come out is going to be a reasonable thing or totally
You
wild.
got to get that hammer on his desk and hit him in the head and break him out.
Luke said, "Why they make fun of you like that?"
We're just looking at us saying,
I said, "Yeah, you heard me come in the door and see what was going on."
I don't even think we were saying anything that bad.
Yeah, you was saying you're gonna make noises, old man noises.
I should have just had been not finished any of his sentences. Just have
And
him
I'm
be
just
like,
sitting over there trying to write this message. Hear my friends talk bad about me.
hey, we'll do it to your face anytime.
I
you
know.
know.
At least y'all do that.
We're happy you're here. Man. We like your. It's better when you're here. That's for the record.
oh my goodness. Anyway, so he was my manager was from South Korea, and he took me to go eat some Korean food right there in the area where we worked.
In the
And
lunchroom, he just like poured some noodles out with some hot water.
I like it. I like
We
it.
did get unlimited noodles though. That was really cool. That was a perk.
bet.
But anyway, we went to the Korean part of town here in Houston, and
Koreatown.
one thing that you notice is that they will not sweep. And he pointed that out to me. He said they're not going to sweep and they're not going to come pick up your plates whenever you're eating
Yeah.
because it's disrespectful in the South Korean culture,
Yeah.
especially the sweeping part because you're knocking up dust in the dust in the air, and it might fall on your food. So that's unsanitary, not clean. But it's crazy because as an American, that's the expectation whenever you go to.
But
a
you're
rest-
you're not talking about sweeping on the floor. You're talking about like when they brush the crumbs off the
Yeah,
table.
brush the crumbs, yeah.
Yeah.
Or you can some of those restaurants you're there late and they're like with the vacuum. You're like, okay, it's time to go.
Yeah,
and it's
yeah.
crazy because if you've ever
Oh,
had,
they'll definitely do that on
if you've ever
purpose.
had Korean food, they bring you everything, all the sides on their own separate plates. So your table at the end, especially if you have 2 or 3 people with you, and you just got plates everywhere, and you're like, oh, can you come and pick this up? But no,
Dude, I was at a Mexican restaurant the other night. The managers had them turning the tables on their side with a flashlight lighting up the floor so they can
Oh, yeah.
sweep.
Yeah, we did that with the flashlight too.
I respect that.
It was actually really annoying though.
I know for you, but for me, knowing that it was going to be clean is.
I had one manager back when I was working at the pawn shop way long ago that he made us scrub the ceiling tiles.
You got to at some point, especially if you're in a restaurant.
Not at a
Pawn
pawn-
shop's
not
a
a
little
pawn
weird,
shop,
but
I mean, you think you could just like get a clean broom and just brush them off, right?
Caesar's mind.
I respect
Before
that
you
more than
guys-
a gas station bathroom.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, dude, I know about the gas station bathrooms, man. I could tell you where they are. The good ones are right now.
The ones to use.
Oh, dude, guys.
Oh,
You got a
Speaking of
plumber
which,
fix.
Here we
no. But I might be suing the people that I bought the house from. You guys ever sued anybody before?
No, but I've had some plumbing problems lately.
Dude,
Yeah,
I
that's
think
what people in
I
church
got
do.
a phone call with a lawyer today when we get off 2:30. Yeah,
Really?
Yeah, bro. So I know I've talked about this on here before, so I won't ramble about it again. But basically, I got these plumbing issues, which are due to this foundation issue, and I've been dealing with this at my house for like a couple months now. And at some point, I thought about the whole suing thing. And then I don't know if I just didn't finish the thought or what happened, but for whatever reason, I moved on from that thought like a couple weeks ago. Anyway, but I was talking with Ben the other day, and he was supposed to come over or something, and he was like, "Hey, I'm not gonna make it." Blah blah blah. And I was like, "It's cool. I gotta go fix my toilets again anyway because they were starting to back up again." And so I'm talking on the phone with him, and we're talking about it, and he's like, "Dude, you gotta sue them, bro." And I was like, "I don't know," because I knew that I had thought about it before and decided I wasn't going to, but then I couldn't remember why I decided not to. So then I was rethinking about it again, and I was like, I should definitely look into this more. So basically, the whole thing is I have this foundation issue, which is causing all these other issues. So now I've got this major repair, which is going to cost me I only got one quote for some repairs, and it was basically going to be around like $15,000 to do all these repairs, and which is why I've been putting it off. And but the whole thing is I got this foundation issue. But when I bought the house a few years ago, on the seller's disclosure notice, which is a part of the contract that the person selling the house has to fill out and sign, it discloses any known issues with the house, so that everybody knows. So they say there's a leak in bedroom 3, blah blah blah, whatever like that. So on that thing they said, and it also discloses any repairs that they've had done in the recent past. So on there it said that they did foundation work like the year before or something. So that's on the thing saying that they did foundation work. So I bought the house under the impression that the foundation was just recently worked on. But in going through this whole process, at some point I got in contact with the city of Baytown to see who pulled the permits to do that work, because you have to have permits to do foundation work. Because I was trying to find the company that did the work so that I could see if there was a warranty on it to have them come back out and redo stuff for free. And the city of Baytown says nobody ever pulled any permits for foundation work on that house, which means either the person that sold me the house lied about doing the work, or they did do the work and they just did it illegally without doing the permits, which means they didn't do stuff up to code and all that stuff, which is the most likely option because they did that with a lot of other things on the house when I bought the house, which I found out with anyway. So for sure they did me wrong for sure. And I have like the contract and I have like proof to show that they did it. But I don't know like how much of a case that is, which is why I'm talking to the lawyer. So I'm going to talk to the lawyer today. Free consultation. If I hire the lawyer, it's like $3,000 to $4,000 to hire the lawyer. But depending on what she says, it might be worth it. Because if I can get them to like pay for the repairs of the, all that stuff, basically I'd have to get like $20,000 out of this case to make it worth it, to get the repairs and to pay for the lawyer. So we'll see what she says.
So are you suing?
I'm going to sue the seller.
The seller or
for fraud, basically.
Or is there an insurance that covers the sale of the house?
Well, this is what I'm going to talk with the lawyer about.
Because I would ask that, because just say you sold me the house. That doesn't mean I have $20,000.
Yeah, but if you committed fraud by claiming on the contract that we both signed that you had done some repairs and you either did them illegally or you didn't do them, but like, you're going to be held liable. You can
sue me all day long, but if I don't have $20,000 to give you, you're still out your $3,000 and no money.
It's true.
So I would ask the lawyer, are we suing their insurance? Because you're going to guarantee if you sue the insurance, they're going to pay out.
Yeah. Because
I know they have like title insurance and different things like that.
Yeah.
So there might be an insurance that covers, things. I'm not for sure.
Yeah, I don't think it would be a title insurance or anything.
It wouldn't be the title insurance for sure.
Yeah.
But I just know like most people don't have $20,000 in their bank.
Yeah, this guy was like a fix and flip guy. Mm-hmm. So he was just like cutting corners to save money
might
on
be
his
something
thing.
there.
Yeah, there might be something there.
Also, though, there is a fund. I learned this stuff doing my real estate junk that I've been doing. I don't remember the names of everything, but basically there is funds that cover this kind of stuff. So if we take this to some kind of real estate court and they rule in my favor, there's funds. There's like a big fund that can distribute money to people, and then the other guy would be held.
It's probably worth it for the flipper not to do it and then just risk.
Yeah. Well, this guy, so he had
he could do 10 houses, only get sued for one, and he's still up.
Yeah, and most people probably aren't going to sue,
right?
But he had some kind of relationship with a I don't remember if he was part of the construction company or what, but like he had some kind of like close relationship with this construction company that was doing, because they redid the floors, they redid all this stuff when they sold us the house, but they clearly like cut all these corners and doing it. Like I remember one, because we got it inspected, and then the inspector was like, yeah, dude, all this stuff is wrong. And most of the stuff that he was like, you should address this, was stuff that, like, it was like the electrical work had been like it. When you flip the switch, the light came on,
Right.
but it was all done wrong with like the wrong gauge wires. It was not up to code. It was like all that kind of stuff throughout the house.
Right.
So I'm sure with the foundation stuff, I'm sure they did the work and just didn't do a good job on it. Didn't pull the permit. I know they didn't pull the permit because the city doesn't have a record of it. So
So how is the house though going as far as you selling houses?
I got a client.
Yeah.
Finally, I'll clap for myself. Where's my, Hey-o.
Did your first client?
Yeah, I got my client. So I set him up with this loan officer. He's getting pre-approved and stuff. I'm just waiting for that to finish up so we can.
Decent. Is he looking for a decent house?
He's looking for, he's looking for a house in the Wood Forest area, which is,
My old stomping ground.
for
No show.
up to $200,000. But that was before we talked to the loan officer and stuff, so we'll see what they say. It could be a little more, a little less.
That's a good one, though, to get your feet wet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Put
they
some
seem-
money in your pocket.
Yeah, they seem nice. So, and they're trying to close like by the end of the year.
So how did you get this client?
This was a lead from the guy who's in charge of the team that I'm part of.
Was this the one that didn't speak English and they
Yeah.
finally learned English?
Yeah. I finally got the right number and everything.
Okay.
Yeah, the guy sends me a number. He's like, "This is Maria. Here's some info. Blah blah blah. Call her. Here's the lead." And I'm like, "Okay." And I call her. She doesn't answer. And then I call her again. At some point, I get a hold of her, and she's like, "Hola." No. And I said, "Hey, I'm James. I'm part of." And she's like, something Spanish. Habla español. No. And I said,
So that wasn't even the right lady?
well, so it was the right lady. It's apparently she's buying a house for her son.
Got
So
it.
I text the guy who sent me there and I said, "Hey, you didn't tell me she doesn't speak English." And he's like, "Oh, I thought she was speaking some English to me." I'm like, ugh. Anyway, he goes, "Here, well, it's really for the son. Let me get you the son's number. He speaks English for sure." And so then he sends me a different number. I call that guy. He doesn't answer. I call him again if at some point guy answers. I'm like, "Hey, is this so-and-so? I'm looking for da-da-da." And he's like, "No, that's not me." And I said, "Okay, bye." And so then I tell the guy again, I say, "Hey, he says he's not him. So any chance you sent me the wrong number?" And I said, "I don't know. I copied and pasted it. It looked like right." And then a couple days later, he sends me another number and he says, "This is him. Call him now." I call the guy and I'm like, "Hey, is this so-and-so?" And he's like, "Yeah, this is me." So I talk to the guy and everything and I get it all going and it's cool. So that took like 4 or 5 days of just that kind of nonsense. And I look at the numbers and the number he sent me for the son the first time compared to the second number he sent me, they're the same number except the last 4 digits were like 9113 and then on the second one it was like 9112 or something like that. So clearly somebody just typoed at some point.
Right.
And that cost me like 3 days because somebody it's just that kind of
Jim's
nonsense.
gonna go broke.
Dude. Yeah, dude.
3 days.
Anyway, but no, I got it. It's the wheels are in motion.
Good.
So
I got to shout out. I'm gonna shout out my brother Seth and Amanda. They got a new baby.
oh, that's right. Clap,
Yeah,
clap,
so
clap.
congratulations to them. They're growing their little young family quickly.
How many kids they got now? Like 17 or
I think
something?
between 2 of them, they got 4 now. Yeah.
4 kids.
4 girls.
4 girls.
Goodness gracious. Seth.
Yeah.
You ever heard the theory that like the more testosterone you have, the more likely you are to have a female child?
Really?
I heard that.
I ain't got
theory.
no testosterone.
That's really funny. But yeah, maybe that's so. The theory's adding up. Then I guess.
Guess so. Guess so.
Well, we got a song. Oh no, wait, Culture Corner.
Oh, I
We
got
ain't
a
even, we ain't even in the
Hop in.
corner yet.
Culture Corner.
in the corner. Yo, here's my headline. You ready? A book that was 51 years overdue was just returned to a Massachusetts library.
Trump, baby, winning.
He's
winning.
bringing back the books.
He's bringing
too.
back the books too. Make America literate again.
All right,
So-
say it again. I wasn't listening.
So an 1899 copy of the early work of Aubrey Beardsley was checked out of a Worcester public library in 1973 and was just now finally returned 51 years later.
Oh, wow.
So it's 51 years overdue. So this dude, the library they didn't disclose any names as far as who returned the book and who checked it out. But so somebody checked it out. They have the ticket in this article. Just kind of funny. It says due date May 22nd, 73. It says this book is the property of the above library. Good care and prompt return is the responsibility of each borrower. But so somebody checked this book out, never returned it, and somebody just pulled up to the library like a week ago, and I think they tried to rename anonymous. So they just kind of like dropped off the book like somebody would do with like a baby on somebody's doorsteps. You know what I mean? Like one of those things where you open the door and there's a baby there in a basket. They did that with the book. They were just like, here's the book. And so they had already like the library had already decided that this book was gone. Like it wasn't even part of their records anymore because for like ever since like the 80s.
What was the author's name again?
Aubrey Beardsley. Oh yeah, and so Aubrey Beardsley, it says it was an English author and illustrator, best known for his erotic and grotesque Japanese-inspired black ink drawings. Yeah, so it is
Aubrey. I guess I was thinking Audrey.
No. This is the guy.
Yeah, I know. I'm looking at him. He's creepy.
See?
Yeah, dude. Best known for his erotic and grotesque Japanese-inspired black ink drawings.
Ah,
So,
yeah. This is a
weird dude.
This is a whole cultural movement here. You still see this on shirts and stuff.
You see it?
Well, it's
his work?
it just. I don't know about his work.
Yeah, the book was supposedly like
but
a big deal.
like that line drawing type stuff. I mean,
yeah.
This is really huge.
Yeah, so they were pumped that the book came back. It was like a big deal. This was kind of like a big deal book which is to me is like, well, you just let people check that out if it was like that big of a deal of a book.
He's just drawing people in the buff in line drawing style.
Oh yeah, in
Yeah.
the buff.
Oh, that's weird. Yep. Very weird.
So you didn't have your safe search on. Dude.
Nah. There's no safe search.
Anyway, people are returning library books, man.
It's probably like some librarian that cleaned out their mom's house after they died or whatever. And she's like, I'm returning this book.
No joke. In the article, it says that's like the most common way that people return these really overdue books. Is somebody dies and then they're cleaning out their house and then they find a book and they're like, oh, this was supposed to be returned 5 years ago or whatever. So in this case, it was 51 years.
I don't know if I would do it.
You don't know?
Probably not. I mean, like,
I guess it would depend on the
I
book.
barely get my Amazon packages returned.
Well, in this case,
that's
this
got money
book
attached to it.
was like a big deal book, so they probably felt bad. It was like, it wasn't like a $10 book from Amazon,
What would the late fees on that look like?
Yeah, so I don't know. The article said that they stopped charging late fees like decades ago.
Wouldn't it be crazy if it was like
I know
$75 million or something?
If that happened, I would have been like,
then they
actually,
return it. They're like, okay, now you got to pay it.
yeah, I would have been like, actually, you know what? I don't have that book.
James like, I'm gonna sue.
Yeah, just keep running. Just put it on my tab, but keep it running.
That's funny.
Dude, I'm really excited to talk to this lawyer. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah. That seems like pretty like adult level stuff you're doing there.
Yeah, you guys never sued anybody before?
I'm
never surprised that David's never sued anybody.
I mean,
I didn't say I hadn't.
Okay, all right.
You didn't let me answer.
Did you win?
I did.
Nice.
Okay.
Nice.
So we got a car wreck. Somebody ran in the back of us, and
Prime.
this lawyer called me out of the blue and was like, "Hey,
Yeah,
can I help you out?"
that's right.
So I got this neck brace and everything,
Oh my gosh.
and I think I ended up winning like $2,700. And I bought me.
How old were you? Please say you were like 48.
Josh was a baby. He was
Okay,
still in
all
the backwards car seat.
Okay.
So this had to be 25 years ago.
Okay.
And so I ended up buying me a 27-inch TV.
Hey, back in the day,
Those were that was the big TV.
Yeah.
It wasn't a flat screen. That was the big baller.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I bought with that. Got off work a couple weeks for it. You know what I mean?
I'm trying to get like 25 large
Yeah.
on this one.
which is probably equivalent to the 27 that he won all that
Yeah,
time
dude.
ago.
Yep, yep.
Yeah, we'll
All right,
see, man.
I got a song for y'all. This is "I Need Help." Connor Price, Maverick City, Taylor Hill featuring Nick Day.
Jesus, please have mercy on me. Have mercy on me. Have mercy on my family. Mercy on me. I got the weight of the world on my back. Feet on the table, my balance is bad. Ain't got no key, but I fetch out the leash. Everyone's telling me I need help. I need help. I need help. I need help. Yeah, I need help. Admitting that was the first step. Had to go out on my own, leave the bird's nest. Leap of faith, but my wings didn't work yet. Fell to the ground and the pain was the worst yet. Yeah, that's a lesson I ain't learned yet. Stripe I ain't earned yet. Gotta get knocked down twice so the third gon' hurt less. Got to the church steps, couldn't take the first step. I need help, I need some guidance, somebody controlling it. Got me a Bible, I took it right home with me. Put it right next to my bed and I said that I'd read it. The truth is I ain't even open it. If I'm being honest, I don't even pray. I need somebody to show me the way. I need somebody to tell me that nothing is wrong with me saying that I need help. When everything around me is falling to pieces. And I cannot even remember what pieces. Feel like I'm slipping right into the deep end. I'm looking for reasons. I needed help. I said it, what's step 2? Got me looking for the next move. Cause they keep saying that I could be rescued. The chains could be let loose. Says who? Boxed it away, but the stress grew. Put a lock in a chain, but it crept through. Yeah, I got regrets too. Got a lot of things I could confess to. I put it in a letter, but I don't know who to send to. Pride talk, that's my ego. Thinking I'm my own God. Yes, I had a dethrone. Thought I had it in control till I hit a steep slope. Thought I had the tree of life, never let the seeds grow. All I needed was some hope. All along had it right next to my bed. Opened the book with my son and I read in the hopes that one day that he doesn't feel shame when he says I need help. And everything around me is falling to pieces. And I cannot even remember what pieces. Feel like I'm slipping right into the deep end. I'm looking for reasons. Jesus, please have mercy on me. Have mercy on me. Have mercy on my family. Mercy on me. I got the weight of the world on my back. Feet on the table, my balance is bad. Ain't got no cable, I'm fresh off the leash. Everyone's telling me I need help. I need help.
Connor Price, Maverick City, Music, Taylor Hill, and Nick Day. Nick Day is not a Christian. The guy is saying, "I need help." I
I thought Connor Price was the guy singing that.
I'm pretty sure this is Nick. I'm not for sure.
I'm wrong.
The guy that's, okay, this is. I don't have all the details on it, but I'm pretty sure that the guy that was rapping here is not Christian. Maverick City partnered up with a couple non-Christian guys and took some heat from it.
Yeah.
Because if you remember, not too long ago,
Dante Bowe.
they got out of the group because he was doing some non-Christian things. Yeah. So, people are trying to.
Who was it? There was a girl they partnered up with to do a single not too long ago that was like way more non-Christian.
Yeah.
Let me see. I'll look it up.
Lauren Daigle.
Caesar's having fun.
So
here.
I went to Space City Fest a couple weeks ago.
Oh, I was there too.
And yeah, James and Ben, they killed it. Actually, James and Ben.
Glorilla. That's who it was.
I don't know who that is.
It's you shouldn't.
Yeah. So the first part of the in any kind of big festival, I guess, that I've been as far as Christians, it starts off very slow. And I was really surprised that Ben and James really got the crowd really bobbing their heads before anybody did. I don't know if you noticed that or not.
A little bit, yeah.
And then after that, it grew. But there was this guy named Isaiah Robbins that came out, and he did this song called "No More Witches." And bro, he brought the whole nightlife down. He had the whole area jumping up and down. About 2,000 people, I guess, by the end of the night.
Yeah, it was a lot of people there.
Really good show. So they're already planning
The next
the
one.
next one. So they're definitely going to do it again.
So like whenever they're booking the production team or the AV people that are getting that stuff, was all that donated? Do you know, or how was that? How was that acquired?
So everything was on sponsors. So he sold sponsors. Even the artist paid to be on the show.
Really?
Yeah. So James got their spot sponsored, but the sponsorship for 5 minutes was $500.
It's a big sponsor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but there's other guys that did 10 minutes, and they get they did 1,000 or whatever. So
It's crazy.
yeah.
But there was a lot of the It was a big show.
Yeah, a lot of
Everything
exposure.
sounded good.
I guess they're really the only thing they started a few minutes late. I guess the Discovery Green sound people got there an hour and a half late.
Oh,
Yeah, so it kind of ran the whole show behind and stuff like that. But
hour and a half late.
an hour and a half, yeah.
That's just like I don't care. That's I don't care
Vaughn-
time.
And that was one thing me and Vaughn had talked about over the years. It's like start on time, and then like you get all your people there, and then they show up late.
I mean, they must have had some kind of techie difficulty.
Somebody must have showed up, and they got to
something.
get a sub or somebody to get there, and
Yeah.
so
I'm sure they didn't
but-
just oversleep. But
the sound was amazing.
yeah, it was really good.
They did a really, really good job. No issues at all. I don't from where I was at. I don't know if there was ever any issues on the stage, but I mean,
I will say they didn't have monitors on the stage, which
Yeah.
would have been a horrible problem.
no, that was a problem.
problems.
That was a problem later on in the show. I would say that because a couple rappers kept saying "turn it up" because I'm assuming because they couldn't hear themselves. But it was already like blasted at us.
Well, that is also a thing they just say no matter what.
No, he kept going. Turn his microphone up.
Okay,
I
it was
can't
like
hear.
for real turn it up.
Yeah.
So what was the methodology behind no monitors?
So for the most of the rappers, it's like a dude and a microphone.
Yeah.
And you can hear the music
Enough.
enough. But you just you couldn't really hear it on stage. But they had, I think, in-ear packs. I don't think most of the rappers had their own ears.
Yeah.
though.
Well, Lakewood Music came out and they had
Yeah.
all in ears. Vaughn's team, they had all in ears.
So the actual bands
Yeah.
that would have for sure needed it, they all had in-ears. And so, but nobody brought a couple monitors just for the front for everybody
that's all you
else.
would need was just a
So
couple
for me
monitors.
though, I had my own PA speaker that I was running
yeah.
my own stuff through, and then Ben's got an amp, and the Cowboy Kyle, he had one of our amps. So we all had amps, so we
Yeah.
could hear ourselves, but you couldn't hear. And I just because my stuff is playing the beats and stuff that we're all playing to. So I just cranked it up all the way and just turned it to the sides. It was facing me and Ben and Kyle, and I was like, "You guys can hear it?" They're like, "We can hear it." And so I basically brought my own monitor. So thank God I did that.
So
or it
what
would've
was the
been a problem.
experience of the whole thing? Like getting there, people helping you, getting set up.
It was pretty chaotic. Nobody
Yeah.
seemed to know. If I was just a rapper who was bringing my track on a USB drive or whatever, it would have been fine. But since I wasn't that, and that was kind of what it was geared to,
Right.
it was pretty chaotic. And nobody seemed to have any answers for me. Of when to get there, where to park, how to.
Yeah, because the
you
DJ
know.
would take care of all of it. Just go give him your thumb drive and you're done.
Yeah, I mean, we had to park a few blocks away and haul our amps and everything, a few blocks through downtown Houston. That wasn't fun.
Yeah.
That was, but we just kind of dealt with it and,
Yeah.
made it happen.
Very
And
good.
it was fun.
That's the stuff that
whatever.
Vaughn wanted to know. He wants to get better next
But I
year.
would say, we got sponsored. But say if I had just put that money up myself, and I'm like, yo, I got to haul my amp 4 blocks through Houston in the middle of the afternoon. It's hot, and I got
Yeah.
the girlfriends and the wives carrying stuff too. I paid to be here.
Right.
I can't even get a parking spot to.
Yeah, or at least a drop off zone, something.
Yeah, I think they did have that stuff, but it was really only for the Lakewood people. And I guess I think I don't know what the Space City band is called, but their worship team played. It was just for those people. So,
Right.
But again, other than us, I think everybody else was just a rap group where they just needed a vocal mic, and then they hand their tracks to the DJ. So it made sense for everybody else, but it didn't for us. But it was still fine. We still had a good time, and it was good.
Yeah. Maybe next week we'll listen to that No More Witches.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good song, and they just went up there, like large group, just
a
like
dozen dudes up
yeah,
there.
12 dudes just mobbing the stage, dancing, and then,
They got their towels.
oh man, it reminded me there was a pivotal point in Houston Christian rap, and it was South by Southwest, and it was our first year that we got a Christian section. It wasn't down on 6th Street, but it was just like this where there was this warehouse section that there was a church in, and then they rented the other warehouses. It was like regular companies during the day, but they turned them into little nightclubs.
Oh yeah,
during South by
I
Southwest.
think they still do that. I think.
So it was kind of cool, and you had all these kind of Christian clubs kind of going on at the same time.
Yeah.
And it was the same thing. Like everything, they had the one church that had all like the bigger rappers in, and it was just like, And then my boy Reconcile and Corey Paul just came in, and they just like coming in with all this energy. 5 or 6 guys on the stage. Reconcile had these big braids or whatever. Then he was like flinging them all over, and then the crowd went wild. And then that year they blew up. Got signed by a record deal. Houston was voted the #1 Christian hip hop city in the United States, and so it was just like a little critical point. And that's what that reminded me of when they went on stage. And I guess that guy, that Isaiah Robbins, he was signed by Sony when he was 14.
Oh, wow.
So he was doing all this secular stuff. And then I think when he was 24, after 10 years of secular music, he got saved. And now he's doing. But they're like fundamental Christians. Those guys that are very
Combative.
He's out here rapping about witches. So
yeah, and we're standing hard and kind of more of a more Hebrewish,
militaristic.
Very
type of
very much like that. We used to have a guy. What's the little short dude with the beard? He came here.
The one that worked at your house.
Yeah.
Angel.
He's kind of the same way. They got a few answers that we don't have. That's very clear that we can't see. Only them can see.
Yeah, well, I'm eating pork either way. So,
Still getting that pass.
It's right there. I know y'all can't see it, but God he'll reveal it to you whenever you're ready.
Sure.
That type of deal.
Yeah.
One of my pet peeves with just Christian hip hop, that's just kind of always been. And it's just me. I understand. It's my preference. Everybody has preferences. It's okay. But it has just been whenever these Christian artists take the stage persona off the stage, and they're that all the time.
Yeah.
And you're like, I don't appreciate that. I get it. You're playing a character. No, this is who I am for real. No, it's not. You got a government name.
Yeah.
And you could tone it down just a little bit. Whenever we're speaking to each other,
whenever we're at Chili's.
That's funny because there was a
I'll take the 3 for $10.
there was a time when in Christian hip hop everybody had the rapper name, right? And then it all went the other way. Everybody went back to their regular name. Even Vaughn went from Von Juan to Valhalla Walwin. And
that's hard enough to say.
Yeah, I know.
So he went back to Von Juan.
Yeah.
Because nobody picked it up, right? Who was it? What was the guys from Reach Records? The white dude, Andy Mineo. He was like D-Light, and then,
was he really?
Yeah, and then he went from D-Light to Andy Mineo, and then everybody kind of followed him after that.
He even put that one song out there. He says how he pronounces his name because everybody would say Mineo.
Yeah, Mineo. Yeah, for all your DJs out there,
Vivek sounds like cake.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, but that's always been a thing. Like whenever throughout the years that we've either had some rappers come and do their thing for the youth or some
it's
events.
A hip hop culture thing.
It's a hip hop culture.
It's not a Christian hip hop thing. It's
Yeah.
just the
And that I think that's the pet peeve of mine because
Yeah.
you know we're the messaging is that we're not of this world, but then so much of the hip hop world just is you can't separate it.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
because it's a culture. It's just not a genre.
Yeah, it's a culture, and it's like, and it's the same thing. Like whenever it's like, why you got Christian rappers coming up there in bulletproof vests? Like you know, like let's just tone that down a little bit.
Well, we had so when King's Camp was a thing, we were the biggest Christian hip hop record label in Houston at the time.
But why'd you need bulletproof vests?
We didn't wear bulletproof vests, but what we did every quarter, we held like meetings where all the Christian hip hop people can come, and they came from all over Texas,
Like a mafia.
Yeah, it was kind of a cool deal because for me, my part of it, I would share like sales, like record sales, like T-shirt design sales, like what worked or what didn't work. What did singles work? What kind of singles worked? So we had a lot of that data, and then it was our ministry in that was to share that with the guys that were coming up, right? But one of my big thing was like you've been saved for 5 years. You've already put out 2 projects, and you're still talking about how God took cocaine away from you. And my thing is, like, let's get past, like, if that's where you still are, there's a problem, you know, because there's no growth in your walk with God. Let the next guy that just got saved and just got delivered from cocaine
Rap about cocaine.
Let him make that album, you know, and you need to move on to have space there for him to make that album, you know. So that was my big push when we was having those things. Just like let's not stay there,
Yeah.
right? Because there's things that people like me that like in Christian hip hop. I want to know what you're going through right now as a mature Christian because I'm a mature Christian, but I still like hip hop. Right, but nobody wants to do that. Nobody wants to do the Dad album. You know what I mean, or whatever it may be, or what it is to the stresses of the world, providing for a family.
Yeah.
You know that type of stuff.
Yeah, and it's you know, for me always it's been that hood culture mentality, and that doesn't belong to any race of people, right? It's just a hood culture that. That it's all about intimidation and coming in, and you get these rappers, these Christian rappers coming into a church, and their heads are so inflated, they're so big because it's a part of the culture, and I understand that. But as somebody that is just, I guess, not a pedestaled Christian,
Yeah.
right? It's like this intimidation tactic that you're doing, and this aura of overly confident and eyebrow raised. That's only touching a certain subset of people, and maybe that's what you're going after. But you know, in the context of like a church like ours, it's a mixed bag. We got a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
And I just always thought it was peculiar, not wrong. I get it.
Well, historically, hip hop is competitive.
Oh yeah.
Right? You got guys set in the corner battle rapping. So it's a very competitive, like, I'm better than you. All other music is, let's just make music. This is, you do that, I'm going to do this. You know, so it's very competitive. It's very, I'm better than you. I'm going to get there faster than you.
And that communicates on a church platform as well.
Yeah. It's magnified.
Yeah.
Right? When you get into off the street into like a church setting, that piece is magnified out because church people are used to, you come in humble, you're not bragging, you know, I don't care if you drive that car, and all that stuff is filtered over into the Christian hip hop.
Yeah. Just, you know, things you notice. And
right. And then, especially if you're not from the culture, it's even magnified even more.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, well, on that note, like I said, I got a chance to preach a couple days, Friday night, Saturday night, with young adults, and it's really interesting because we were talking about, we usually do talk about, you know, things that maybe teenagers are dealing with, or things of married men, younger, older, that type of stuff. But and we have talked about young adult culture here a few times. But, you know, going into something like this, you have to ask yourself the question, and I put it before God. God, what are the needs of young adults, right? right? It's very different from a teenager, and it's very different from an established grown person, right? So I call them grown, and I call everybody that's not them, that's older, grown. That's how I distinguish.
I mean, grown.
He's got a few groans.
I'm over here groaning.
So
that's what those noises are. I'm over here.
So just off the cuff, and you've had a couple young adult. You have you have one young adult with you, and then you got some grown kids too. So what would you think, according to your experience now, is the greatest need for a young adult?
I can tell you just by a recent conversation, and I'm sorry, Luke, you listen to it and all this. I won't put too much of your business out there, but what he missed the most from high school to what he's going through now, because he's still the kid, right? And he even mentioned it that it was really cool being kind of almost equal to a lot of the people that always been his leader, right? Mm-hmm. But so that was something that kind of cool that he felt like he was a part of the group instead of like the little kid. Yeah. But what he's been struggling with was the relationships from having those bunch of relationships in high school, and then now and that's kind of what I asked earlier, like how many friends did you have? Because he still has just a small group of friends, and now when he goes to college, there's no relationship there. Yeah. Right? So that was, I think for him, by the conversations we have, he's really looking for is just that same relationship that he had in high school with a bunch of people. To kind of transfer into that now.
Yeah, and then you can also see it too, right? Because everybody that is kind of in his space as far as growing up, school, and all that, that almost gets bludgeoned into you. That your circles start getting smaller and smaller. You get into a career path, and then you just invest your life into that career path. That's why people make their job their life, because that's where they find a sense of community and belonging and and whatnot. But yeah, James, what do you think's greatest need for a young adult?
Ooh, I don't know what the greatest need is. The friend thing is a big deal though. Just not having people around you, it makes a big difference. The older I get, the less people I see consistently, and I notice that a lot.
And it's like the less people you want to be around.
Oh, man, dude.
I think, for me, the greatest need of a young adult would be a mentorship.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that we do real good, like youth, right? They always have the leaders around them, It is mostly to make sure they don't get out of hand, but it's also to mentor them, right? Mm-hmm. And then the older you get, the less mentors you have in your life. Mm-hmm. So I think the greatest need is continue to have mentorship all the way until you die.
That's good. Yeah. That was real good. I started off Friday night with, and I won't go through what I taught because I probably taught for somewhere near 5 hours between both nights. And it was. You have a captive audience, right? So they can't go nowhere. But I'm like, it's all right. You paid for this, so you're gonna get it. You're gonna get it all.
He's like, I'm getting my money's worth.
And
what a giver.
Yeah. But I started off with this quote from C.S. Lewis. If you don't know him, wonderful Christian author, theologian, 20th century, I think. Yeah. 21st century. Anyway. 21st. Yeah. So anyway, he said this. If I find in myself desires which nothing in this world can satisfy, the only logical explanation is that I was made for another world. So I just kind of let them stew in that for a little bit, right? What a great quote that, and that's how we started it off from the jump. I already had them. I wanted them to think that, these emotions, these thoughts, these desires that we have were. We don't feel satisfied. We haven't felt satisfied. That's why we're going out there and chasing the world. We're chasing our dreams. We're chasing this because we feel like once we have it, we will be satisfied. But that's never true because and we all know this in this room, once you get what you've worked so hard to get, then you're asking the question, what's next? Yeah. Right. So it's not a trinket. It's not a thing that you get. It has to be more. So if my satisfaction, my satisfaction cannot be dependent upon earthly things because I have not yet found it. Even if I had found even just a little bit to where that would be, a true statement, then I would say, no, I can find it on this earth, but I haven't found it anywhere. Not long lasting, just a temporary dopamine hit, but there's more to it. So, right off the cuff, their whole theme for the weekend was homecoming, because we have a lot of people that were once here at this church as youth. They went out, wild out in their college days, military, whatever. And now they're out of their, service from the military. They're done with their schooling or about to be done with their schooling. And they're finding themselves gravitating back to church because they grew up. They're growing up. And so
The world became lonely. Right? I mean,
Yeah.
the exciting things are there, not there no more because you mature.
They don't satisfy.
Yeah.
They don't satisfy at all. So now they're coming back home, and so I really felt compelled to. It was a 2-part message. One was again, their theme was homecoming. The message for the first night was come home, and then the second one was stay home.
That's good.
Anyway, like I said, I won't get into everything that I talked about, but a few weeks ago we had a preacher come that is you have his book right there on the desk, Dr. Jerry Williamson, and what an incredible man in charge of a lot of responsibility. Goes to the nations to preach the gospel, plants churches everywhere, in network with thousands of pastors, which represents tens of thousands of people. So really, really cool to talk to somebody like that has just live their life so open. But anyway, I asked him, I told him I was going to be preaching for young adults, and I asked him if he had any words of wisdom or anything of, in that kind of vein, to share with them. And he did. Hold on one second. Let me pull it up here. Let me pull it up. Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, I'll have to remember it. But he said this, he said, yeah, tell him this. Tell him that, hey, where is it? Okay, here it is. Found it. He said, tell him this. Don't pursue ministry. Pursue character. Out of character, ministry will flow. And that was Saturday night. And Friday night, what I was hearing after the message, we were just talking to some of the guys, it was just that thing. These expectations of what's to come, the job that's coming, the marriage that's coming, the opportunities that are coming. Once I get there. And there's a lot of ministry leaders in there, the future ministry leaders, people that we need to build up. And then also the circles that they run around in, because we have a few of them that come from different churches and they have different discipleship groups and whatnot. But I think we live in a culture right now with the capital C church that is always about pushing people toward ministry and less about kingdom. And if we're doing ministry for the sake of just doing it and getting our hands on something rather than it actually being an outflow from our heart, right? Our heart's desire to do the thing that God has called us to do, then we're just going to be doing this. We're going to be pursuing ministry, and though we're getting people, we're being successful in bringing people in the house. It's almost a superficial success because it's not based upon an actual work and calling that God has called you to, and you think you're doing okay just because we're seeing the numbers come in, the butts in the seats, or just the fad that is growing all around us. So out of character, ministry will flow. And I thought, how wise is that, right? Build up the internal, build up what people don't see, because out of that, the external part will show. And I think we get tripped up sometimes. I think as church leaders, church directors, people that have any of the moving power, I guess, in a church, we think that if we develop a new program, we develop a new way of doing things, that's going to be the ticket out of the funk that the church is in. And that might be true in the temporary, but at the end, what's at stake here? Are we just letting foolishness, mediocrity come in just for the sake of keeping something afloat, or do we need to return back to, biblical concepts and just be fine with doing what God has called us to do?
Yeah, I think watching some of the Hillsong documentaries and listen to old buddy that failed real big in the Hillsong New York,
Carl Lentz.
I think you see that there, that from the time that he was noticed in Bible college, they were already building him to be the pastor of the next launch church in America, right? And even overlooking past some of the things that needed to be healed and some of the things that needed to be worked on, and maybe even some theology that needed to be worked out, that they looked past that because they were looking for a spot to fill in ministry.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then what do you find? Everything that wasn't worked out or wasn't healed during the pressure cooker times, those are the things that pop up and end up hurting people, right? So I think you see that a lot, and then I'm not going to blame that just on mega churches, because I'm sure that happens probably even more in smaller churches because there's more, and because
They got less people to choose from.
they got less people to choose, and there's always a role that needs to be filled.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then and it's even more scary because those people are normally doing, like Pastor Caesar, young adults, married youth, all the things.
A lot of roles.
So now he's got all these roles and all these things that he hadn't worked out. You know what I mean? Not saying you don't have things worked out, but just that type of role. So
Yeah, and a lot of this generation, young adults that are getting fired up for Jesus, their context is not the old church. Their context is what they're seeing, what's going on in Elevation Church, what's going on in Bethel, what's going on in Hillsong. And a lot of these, you need, if you're young adult listeners or you're just new to the faith and really getting into this, you need to do your research on church history and how church history moves and flows, because church was still church way before, Bethel in Redding, California ever came along.
Yeah.
And a lot of the stuff that even like what's his name, Mike Todd, and all of that are streams from the same place. Whenever you look at it and you research it, it's called the New Apostolic Reformation that took place. And a lot of that is where the prosperity preaching, the prosperity gospel that really blew up in the 80s, to where we're still feeling the effects of it now. Hillsong, all that, Bethel, they're all a part of it. They're all a part of that. And it has some weird theology. I love their music. Some of their messages are okay. I'm not the biggest fan of a lot of what they do, but I am a fan of some of the stuff that they do. But in that, one of their big doctrinal touch points that they're always trying to get to is I believe they call it like the 7 mountains of prophecy or something. Don't quote me on that, but go look it up. New Apostolic Reformation, and you're going to look at the mountains of prophecy. And one of the things that they preach is that we will usher in the second coming of Christ once a Christian is sitting at the top of every industry that's in the world. So whether it's financial, creative, whatever. That's why there's this big, gigantic push always with the music and whatnot, because once Christians hold the top of every category, that's going to help usher in the second coming of Christ. New Apostolic Reformation.
where do we find that in the scripture, though?
You don't. That's why. But see, that
But where do they get it from?
let me tell you, that teaching is necessary in order to fuel the prosperity gospel, because it's the whole carrot and the stick. Always placing that thing in front of people to go and get it. And then also it feeds people's ego. This generation is all about the young creatives, content creators. Everybody wants to be a content creator. Everybody, it speaks to them. That's what they want to do. And when I was teaching this last week, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think we all need to elevate our game. I think it's fantastic whenever we're no longer mediocre in what we do for the church. And we've talked about that to no end, right? I think that's important. But and I said it this last week when I was doing communion, that God is not looking for us to be creative. He's looking for us to be consecrated. Now, through that consecration, our creativity will come out. But it's like, let's not throw out our consecration just because we have creatives. That's why you got churches that will hire people that come out of college with, some audio, video, graphic design degree, and they're not a professing Christian, but because they are able to do things at a higher level because they studied. This is a job to them more so than it's a calling. I understand that, especially whenever you have the money. But what are we doing at the end? What are we doing? What are we doing to the church in the long run? Not in the temporary, but in the long run. When we're hiring people to take care of very important roles. Now, we need to train up Christian young men and women to find their callings, get them involved, funnel them where they need to go, and help them grow in those areas. But whenever we start outsourcing these things that belong to the church to the world, we're going to have issues, and we've seen these issues play out time and time again. The church world is weird, right? Because in one sense, it's supernatural. And in another sense, there's completely natural processes that we can take from especially from leaders of the world that have shown, excellence in business management. We're talking a little bit about that, right? Business management and whatnot. But then again, sometimes do we substitute out the spiritual side for the sake of the natural, and vice versa? Maybe sometimes we're too spiritual in some things whenever there's just a practical application. Maybe we can buy a $15 app on the App Store that's going to take care of something, right? Versus something else, So it's kind of like a mixed bag of things. But we see this, and I've seen this in churches play out, especially. It's typified in young adult culture because these are the things that young adults flock to and they want to be a part of without having a context where it comes from. And they sell their life for this one thing. And it's really, for me, I guess they call it the ick now, right? But it's really cringy for me whenever
you have to explain the ick.
Cringy.
Oh, okay.
It's really cringy whenever you have somebody that's not a young adult and their whole life is young adult world. Get out of there.
Yeah. Kind of what we were talking about, want to just make space for that next.
Exactly.
So do you think that whole 7 mountains or whatever is come from like the UPC where there's like saved by works?
I don't know what you just said.
It could. I mean, I don't know where that necessarily stems from, but
because that they're very. If you go to a UPC church, most people in the UPC church are very well off. That they own their own business or they're in the higher managements or whatever, because they believe that you get to heaven by your work, so you can't be lazy here on earth, right? So you got to do whatever you can do, and the higher you are up in your job, the more money you make, the more you can give to the church, the more the church can do, and then all those things compound of working to get to heaven. So I wonder, because the apostolic are they're like in between us and the UPC, right? So they probably have a lot of those things that trickled down from the old UPC when they broke off, probably. And I would see a lot of that, the works type stuff kind of influence the way they do ministry.
Yeah, look, check this out. Let me just give you a brief definition here. The New Apostolic Reformation is a theological belief and controversial movement that combines elements of Pentecostalism, evangelicalism, and the 7 Mountain Mandate to advocate the spiritual warfare to bring about Christian dominion over all aspects of society and end or weaken the separation of church and state. So let's see what the 7.
I've never heard of the 7 Mountain Mandate.
So the 7 Mountain Mandate is a dominionist, and that's what it is dominion, taking dominion over these areas. Is a dominionist conservative Christian movement with Pentecostal and evangelical Christianity and independent charismatic groups. Let's see. It holds that there are 7 aspects of society that believers seek to influence or dominate: family, religion, education, media, arts and entertainment and business and government.
So I thought there were going to be some 7 mountains in the Bible or something. You know what I mean?
No.
But they're just talking about cultural mountains.
Cultural
Yeah.
mountains. So
that's why I guess that's where I got really thrown off. I was just like, what mountains are they talking
yeah,
about?
no.
Yeah, Kilimanjaro.
It's like whenever
I went super spiritual on everybody instead of just thinking it out.
See, there's Everest.
it's like whenever Netflix did the Selena series, and then they were showing mountains in where Corpus Christi.
Not to get off on any subject, but she's getting out soon.
Selena.
No,
Her
Saldivar.
her killer.
Oh,
Her killer's getting
I
out.
think Selena's been in jail this whole time.
Yeah, I don't
What?
think she's gonna make it long.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah,
like,
everybody's saying it. Like, I don't know. Selena has a lot of diehard
she might
fans.
need to stay in there.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Let's see. When is Saldivar getting out? I'm curious now.
yeah, that's interesting. I mean, it's interesting how, and I think like the problem with religion, no matter where you are, you have these 7 mountains or whatever. Like, it's a good idea. Like, those things within themselves are great. Like, those are 7 pinnacles of a Christian to take dominion over would change your life.
Sure.
Right? But then instead of them being like goals that you reach and different things, it becomes religious. And then that's where it tangles up in what your faith, your relationship with God really is.
Yeah,
right?
and then all of those areas of culture, these cultural mountains as well. It also produces high income earners in your church.
Yeah.
So that's never a bad
Good
thing.
incentive.
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
So whenever the church is constantly preaching this and pushing for people to get better, which we should, right?
Yeah.
We should be doing this,
do
but it's also in a way that can be very sneaky because, why are we pushing these agendas? Is it for the betterment of the kingdom, or is there some financial gain at the end of this, or even not even financial gain, but this understanding or this platforming where we start looking at the leaders of these movements in maybe a higher brightness of light than we would anybody else.
But then you have the opposite spectrum is it. I gotta be careful the way I say this. I get bothered at times where the Christian is woes with me. You know, I'm never going to get out under the thumb of the enemy, because we should be better than that. The Bible says we should be lenders, not borrowers, right? And I know, Pastor Dave, it's easy for you to say whatever, but I grew up having groceries been delivered to our house because we didn't have food.
Right.
Sandra too. So I know it's not one of those things that it takes effort and it takes a mind shift and it takes a lot of different things. So I think some of that stuff is missing in a non-denominational church because we're so free spirit. We're just going to wait on God and all those things, and it doesn't get really pointed out and says, listen, you don't have to be who your parents were. There is an opportunity that you can go to school. You don't always have to do what your big sister did, your big brother did.
Yeah, there's a balance,
and there's a gigantic appeal in what we read in those 7 mountains of prophecy, right, or of cultural mountains of whatever. There's a lot of appeal, and there are things that we should endeavor to be in and to be successful at. But whenever it's your theological focus to target these things, Jesus didn't come out and say, well, there's these 7 mountains of culture that I need you guys to go and conquer before you usher in my second coming. So all of that is what's in the temporary, in the here and the now. It yields fantastic creature comforts, and I'm in favor of dominating those fields as well. But in our church planting, it's got to be more than just the temporal we have to program for eternal things.
It's almost like add-ons, right? Like you can buy add-ons for different, software programs or whatever. And it's like, okay, you got this great software program, but if you buy this add-on, it can like do all the stuff that in the software program for you, and then you just automatically get the answer, right?
Yeah. A paywall for Jesus.
And that's what it is. It's like, okay, let's not focus on the Bible. Let's focus on these 7 mountains, and then we'll get there.
Well, in Scientology, they do that as well, because after you're done reading one book, you have to go and buy the other book. That's why there's no poor Scientologists, right?
Yeah.
And you need those books in order to get to a higher level of spirituality and understanding.
All the Scientologists are so disappointed at the end. They're like, really? This is the last book? After $2 million, this is it.
But that's the kind of that's the kind of stuff that strings the normal people along that will never be able to afford the $2 million.
Yeah.
But it keeps that carrot right in front of them, and with this false sense of hope and security that says that one day I will reach a level. You hear it in what's his name, Brian Johnson, the lead pastor of Bethel. You hear it in his preaching because he teaches about levels of faith. That's not biblical.
Yeah.
Levels of faith is not biblical, but levels of faith is correct whenever that's your theological framework. That's why people don't know about the NAR. They don't know about these things. They don't know how the churches are being structured, and they go into it and say, well, they got good music. It has to be more. There's more depth to Christianity than just what we see. So, and I didn't hit the young adults with all that. I mean, I didn't say anything about that. Because that is a little deeper. It's another level. But
I think it's more of a small group deal than trying to smash that out with a larger group.
Because it gets very controversial, especially whenever you see this played out in all the emerging churches that are around us in this area.
You gotta make room for question and answers when you start to talk about stuff like that. You can't just say, "Hey, this is what it is."
Yeah.
And everybody's like, what does that even mean?
On that, one thing that I did mention, I was telling my wife about it after. She's like, so how'd it go? I said, well, night one, I did make this one comment that was really tough.
Let's hear it.
Was that I told them that their space as young adults, in the young adult culture, as Christian young adults, is not to stay as young adults, but what God has blessed them with as far as the creativity and the strength and the flexibility to move around where they're not bogged down with so much responsibility yet, like family and career and all that, is you need to branch out and touch other areas of the church and support those areas, because you are the strength behind it for you to push it. You are mentors for the younger people. You are, all these things. You're students and disciples of the older generation, and you got to put yourself in these places, because if not, what you're going to do at the end, if you fail to do that, is you are now a part of a cult.
Yeah. And that's very important, because we were talking to I think Micah not too long ago. We're talking about discipleship programs, right? And normally a discipleship program is like you have a bunch of leaders and then you disciple, right? But what happens about the disciple and the leaders? You might have a 30-year-old disciple that he's discipling somebody else, but nobody's discipling him. So it's got to go both ways, and I think the church model is disciplers and disciples, And so that whole, it doesn't work that way. I think the faster that young adults learn how to serve, be servants, that I think that is so critical, because not only are you teaching them to be servants of the church, you're teaching them how to be selfless, and then that rolls over into the next part of their life when they get married.
Yeah.
Now they're the thing that makes them feel good is not people doing things for them, but is them doing things for other people.
Yeah.
Right.
I learned more about Jesus and Christianity and all of this, not from the pages of Scripture, but from the people that I was serving with and under. Right. That I learned more about how to walk for Jesus that way than from the pages of Scripture. No, I'm not discounting that at all.
Right.
It's just saying at first whenever you don't have the insights, you don't have the teaching, you don't even have the groundwork yet to really understand the Bible in its context and all of that, you see it demonstrated in the lives of its people, and that's why that's important, right? Where these young adults can get that kind of exposure from people that have been walking 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years more than they have. And it's an invaluable resource that, one, I think the older generation should take pride in knowing that they have, but also being overly accessible and open to letting a young person come into their bubble, right? Their little sphere of influence, and we don't see that too much.
This is the problem, and I've noticed it in my personal relationships. So I'm very gung ho about wanting to get something done, right? Even to the point where I have this vehicle that was wrecked, and I need to get it done, right? But I want to do it. I want to do it my way. I don't want to let my dad touch it. Because one of the things is I don't want him to be hurt because he can't really do what he thinks he can do, first of all, but he's still trying to hold on to what he used to do, right? And I think that we see the same thing in the church is the older people are still hanging on to the things that they should be letting up and letting the next generation do, because they feel like if they let go of that, then there's nothing left.
And that's another homegrown problem, right? Because we have, and I say we as far
and then
as
the other side, I'm sorry, and the other side is the young adults are very aggressive to take over.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, and then because we have told people over and over that their value is found in what they do.
Yeah.
And you take somebody that's been a Sunday school teacher for 20 years and they know that their season is done. They know they're not being effective and that people are just there because they're there. And you're like, is this the best fit for you now? Or was your post, was your calling meant to be eternal? Mm-hmm. And you talk to an older person that way, and now you are just cutting down their entire life and existence in Christianity. And it's the same conversation about, new music versus old music. Yeah. That what their music, the older music, the older preference, they attach to it. That's their testimony, right? Mm-hmm. They were drinking, they were smoking, they were delivered, and this is what was played in the background. That's what got them through. So whenever the church says we're not going to play that old stuff anymore, now you are attacking their identity now.
Yeah, and you can see that a lot of times where you have this like man or lady in your church that's been doing Sunday school for 20 years, and they're like, this month we're going to focus on whatever. I need you to do that. Like, no, this is, what do you mean? Yeah. I'm the one that does the schedule of my Sunday school class. You know what I mean? Because it's them, it's who they are, it's what they do, not I'm doing this for the greater good of discipling the church.
Yeah.
And that's what those roles are. Those roles are not, it's not your ministry, it's the greater good of the body.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and that's a problem, I would say, in probably all churches.
Every church.
Yeah.
I went through it. I remember telling this young man very boldly, this is my ministry. God gave me this ministry. It's mine. And he said, it's not yours. This is God's ministry. I said, but God gave me this ministry. And it was a very like tense moment of the direction or the youth group was going, and it needed to change, and it needed somebody bold to step up. But that wasn't the way to do it. This is mine. I was, taking possession of, for him, I was trying to take possession of something that was God's, and that's not what I was. I was trying to direct something that God had given me the
authority over,
right? Mm-hmm. But to him, the way I was perceiving it was, I'm taking something that wasn't mine. Mm-hmm. So, and I think, early in ministry, a lot of, young leaders do a lot of that. Mm-hmm. And then once you start that, you just live and grow in it.
Yeah. And for me, in those moments, for me, the consolation of all that is that even in my own ignorance, and I've seen this played out, even in my own ignorance in ministry, God has allowed for that ignorance to take place, and that still ultimately brought about his intended will for that project, that thing, and it was done in a way to where I learned a lesson. I learned humility. People around me grew, and they got a model and an example of what it might look like. And God is, at the end of it, the one to get all the praise and glory for it.
Well, he got to know what it looked like for a pastor to come to him humbled and apologize.
Yeah.
Several years later. I caught him at it, and
Years.
that was because he kind of went in his own way, and y'all, everybody knows this guy. He kind of went his own way, and then I said, "Hey, man, I need to come to you and apologize. I meant what I said, but that's not the way."
Should have said it.
That's the way. I should have said it, and I said I apologize. And there was another young lady there too that I eventually had to go apologize to. But they that got to be worked out that way.
Yeah. Well, to kind of bring it to a close here, I think my my input from this last weekend with the young adults is that our young adults have a bright future in front of them. And that kind of puts the responsibility on those that are older here at the church that have been walking a little bit more to make space for them, right? So they can talk about their cocaine.
What are we doing? As the older people, are we trailblazing? Or are we putting at roadblocks? And that's the answer that we have to answer honestly as the older regime.
You probably need to do a little of both, though, honestly. Because, the younger people, they'll get a little out of hand if you don't kind of reel it in.
There's definitely got to be rules, and I don't like rules in church, but there's got to be boundaries.
A little backlash or a little pushback.
Yeah, there's got to be boundaries, but at the same time, and you have to open it up and let them run. I said it. I said it in the men's retreat. I said a racehorse is no good in the stall.
There you go.
You got to let him get out and run.
That's right.
Yeah. In that second message for the night, the stay home message.
Got to reel them in at some point.
The
too.
line
gotta bring it back.
Says, now that you've come home, stay home. But now that you're home, remember, there's rules to this. Yeah. There's house rules. That's what I told them. There's house rules.
That's good.
So, anyway, it was an exciting weekend. It was a good conversation, and I think it's going to bear a lot of fruit.
If you're listening to this, you were there, pull up, let us know. You see us around. Let us know what it meant to you over the weekend and what you got out of hanging out with your brothers and sisters and from the messages you heard.
Yeah.
For the rest of you in the world, we love you.
This is The Refuge Project.